Gee, it's almost time, isn't it?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Hello, Johanna.
Takes my name to court. Her name, and I was like, her name.
We figured it out.
We got it.
We figured it out.
We got it. Well, it's only left. Oh, yeah, Idell disease. Yes, yes. No, I know, but I know that plotter, it's like, yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, really. Commissioners, before we start, commissioners. Okay, my microphone is gonna be live throughout the meeting. You hearing this, Jeff? My microphone is gonna be live throughout the meeting. Should you wanna speak, you're gonna have to push the little green button in front of you to make your microphone live. Currently, they're all mute. Okay, muted, all right? Just to let you know.
It's not gonna line up all that bright either. It's like a very dull bright. Yeah, I know.
Everyone's here, you can
Now it's off.
Okay,
start when you want.
okay.
Did you see that? It's very mild.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Skokie Plan Commission meeting for July 18th. I welcome all of you to the meeting tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome a new member to our commission, and it is Gal Speyer. Would you say hello to everybody? Hi, so we can all talk to her later. Thank you, welcome aboard. Okay, first order of business, I'm gonna call the roll. Commissioner Speyer. Present. Commissioner Manchella.
Here.
Commissioner Scott Berman.
Here.
Commissioner Cindy Franklin.
Here.
Commissioner Giuliahu.
Here.
Commissioner Grupa is absent. He didn't call me. Did anybody call him, or anybody hear from him? No? Okay, I'm gonna mark him absent. Commissioner Jeff Berman.
Here.
Commissioner Ross Matei,
Here.
and I'm here. First order of business is to ratify the meetings from the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to,
So moved.
any discussion, any corrections to the meetings? None? Okay. All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, minutes have been approved. First, we have two cases tonight that are related. First case is a zoning chapter amendment, case number 2024-18P. Related case 2024-19P, which is a special use request at 4919 Main Street. Is the petitioner here tonight? Yes, sir, would you please come to the microphone and give us your name?
Good evening, Chair Luke. My name is Christopher Canning. I represent Pickledilly people. Three of them are going to testify this evening, so if you want to swear us all in.
Yes, would you please stand up? Raise your right hand. Do all of you affirm that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you? Thank you very much. Okay, Counselor, please. Well, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Christopher Canning, Canning. My office address is 1000 Skokie Boulevard in Wilmette.
Thank you.
And the four people with me tonight are the founders of Pickledilly. We have Amy Lillibridge, Lauren Busey, Armin Kachila, and Nathan Kachila. Amy and Lauren are Skokie residents, and Nathan and Army have a long relationship with Skokie as well. They will be presenting the PowerPoint that we asked Jose to load into the system, and we thank Jose for doing that. I know you all have had a chance to read the staff review. I believe you've had a chance to read my letter reflecting the standards of review. I believe you have received letters of support from people, and if you need copies of those, we have hard copies available if you did not receive those. We would not be here tonight, however, without the help of many of the staff of the Village of Skokie. And I'd like to particularly thank Johanna, Jose, Carol, Rodney, Mike, Brian, and Marlene sitting right in front of you, because without their help, we would not have been able to make our way to you and have an understanding of what issues are before you tonight. Briefly, I'll tell you, Piccadilly was born when Army and Nathan met Amy and Lauren on a pickleball court as the world was recovering from the pandemic. And for them, pickleball was not just a form of recreation. Pickleball was a way to build community, something that we all lived through the pandemic, knew that community frayed during that time period. You'll hear about how pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America. You also will probably hear a little bit that sometimes it is a situation where there's consternation, most often involving outdoor pickleball and the sound that outdoor pickleball makes. And what Amy and Nathan and Army and Lauren wanted to do was take their love for pickleball and their ability to build a community and bring it to fruition by having a pickleball facility. And what they wanted to do is find an indoor space, because an indoor space will not be as detrimental to the public as an outdoor space, and where they could have this dream of having a pickleball facility. And so they looked throughout the North Shore, and they found the subject property that we'll be talking about tonight, 4919 Main Street. And that's where they wanted to have this indoor pickleball facility in a former industrial building. Now, if it was that easy, they would just get a building permit and they would open up, but it's not, and we understand by working with staff how we go through the process. And that's why you have two cases up tonight, as the chair said, and they are related. One is the text amendment to make recreation facilities a special use in this zoning district. The second is to actually get the special use permit. So let me talk about the first application, the text amendment. So that is a request for a zoning chapter amendment to establish recreation facilities, dance halls, racquetball, handball, and tennis courts as a special use in the TX Transit Mixed Zoning District. So, as you know, a recreation facility is a special use in the B2 and the B3 districts and a permitted use in the B4 districts. We believe that it should be a special use in this TX district. And one of the main reasons we believe it should be a special use is this property in this district is very well served by both public transit as well as the Skokie Valley Trail. So people are going to have, be able to access the facility in many different ways, not just driving to the facility. And what we believe will happen with this pickleball facility is we'll continue to add vibrancy to the Main Street and Cyril areas that continue to grow and change since the introduction of the Science and Technology Park, since Sketchbook moved in to the north. And so what we ask the Plan Commission to first consider and vote in a positive recommendation so that the text amendment can be made so that recreation facilities can be a special use in the TX district. Now, if you agree with that and if you vote in favor of having it become a special use, then we get to the question of what is this use and how does it meet the standards of review? And I included my opinions in my letter to the board, which I understand you've read. And as I looked at the proposed findings of fact that were prepared in staff report, it looks like staff at least concurs with some of my thoughts. But it's one thing to hear it from somebody who is talking to you the language of zoning and land use and planning. What I think is most important for you to hear tonight is about this use. And the use is, what is this indoor facility going to be? And to do that, I've asked the members of the Piccadilly team to talk to you about what is the mission of Piccadilly and what are they going to do to fulfill that mission. So how did this idea come to fruition? How do they plan to build this out? How do they plan to operate this? And how is it going to be a positive for the village of Skokie? So the three speakers right now are going to be Nathan first, then Lauren, then Army, and then Nathan will come to the close. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to turn the floor over to Nathan. When he concludes his presentation, we will all be available to answer any questions you may have at that time. So I'll ask Nathan come up, speak in the microphone. The control here controls the PowerPoint. And then, as I said, we'll all be available to answer questions when we're done.
Thank you.
I'll just state for the record that notice was proper and correct in both cases.
Thank you, Counselor.
Great. Thank you again to the staff. You've been wonderful. The excitement, the support from the very beginning. I mean, you know, I think we couldn't have asked for a better situation here. And really, and I don't know if this was mentioned, but I think the staff had it was sort of a matchmaker in this whole process, and actually led us to the property, which is great. And I think that's your business development and really at work there. And of course, I want to thank the Planning Commission for one, receiving us tonight and considering our application. So I think the best place to start really is our mission. Let's see.
Scroll down.
Oh, scroll. Oh, I see. It's a PDF. I'm sorry. I didn't see that. All right, here we go. On.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not speed readers.
Hold on.
Here we go.
I'm just building the excitement, guys. I'm just building the
Yeah.
excitement. All right. So our mission. So I think this is the very best place to start. So our mission is to foster a community space where players of all ages and all skill levels can come together to enjoy the sport, enhance their skills, and form lasting friendships. And I think the word to highlight here is really community, and the other word to highlight is friendship, because this is how Piccadilly was born, and it's born out of friendship, and then we are out to really build a community and to build a pickleball community within the vibrant community of Skokie. And how are we gonna fulfill our mission? We're building an 11.5 court indoor facility located in the heart of Skokie. I can explain the half court. The half court is basically a half court lengthwise that folks can use to like practice or try out new paddles. So it's a really nice added amenity. Of course, it'll be temperature controlled for year-round pickleball. As you know, we live in the Midwest, and it's very challenging in the wintertime, from anywhere from late fall to like mid-spring. We'll be open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. We'll monitor that and adjust it depending on demand. Our courts will be roomy, with an advanced playing surface, optimum lighting, and pro-style nets. So basically, we're building bigger courts than any other indoor facilities in the area. And we've seen quite a few of them and played quite a few of them, and we're really building them to what's recommended by the U.S. Pickleball Association, their recommendations. The playing surface will be an advanced playing surface where it'll be more of a cushion court, so it'll be much easier on the joints and the body. And of course, the best lighting and the best nets that we can buy. We'll be employing pro-level teaching staff from beginner to advanced instruction, developing youth and senior programming, leagues, open play, and clinic, like skills clinics, strategy clinics. And those are really, those 3 points right there are really the key to a successful pickleball facility, because you bring in beginners and folks that want to learn the game, and then they stay on and become members. They stay on and play in our leagues. They'll stay on and do open play. So really, that's kind of the gateway to developing a great business and great community. And then we plan to host local and national tournaments and corporate events. As Chris mentioned, a lot of, the golf course is still a wonderful place to do business, but we're seeing that the pickleball court is coming up and coming as the next place to do business. Our long-term goal is to offer pickleball wellness programs like yoga and stretching and conditioning, again, gauging demand, but really that's the goal, to have, to develop an overall pickleball program where not just for playing, but really caring about how folks develop and stay injury-free. Oh, so this is the exciting part. So the floor plan, and I think we were all very excited when the architect developed these floor plans, because it really brought our vision to life, almost life. So just walking through the floor plan, this right here where it says exit is actually the entrance. This faces south into a parking lot. For orientation, pickleball sketchbook is to the north, same building all the way up to Main Street, and this is the middle parking lot between Main and Searle Parkway. You'll enter a glass doorway. It's going to be a repurposed overhead door. So the roll-up door is gone, and that's going to be filled in with glazing to let in a lot of light into an open waiting area. Players will eventually the first thing they'll see is the vastness of the space, and all the courts from court 1 all the way to court 6, and look to the right and see 5.5 more courts. The real gem about this building is that we played other places, and they're all kind of warehouse style buildings, but if you notice, there's only columns along the middle of the building, so there's no obstruction, and it allows us to lay out courts in the most optimal way without worrying about columns in between courts, or trying to build around columns. So it's a wonderful space. We have 18-foot ceilings, so we don't have to worry about balls hitting the ceiling too often. But if we move over to the middle here, this will be the reception area, where guests will be greeted and checked in. And behind the reception area is another area with locker rooms. I mean, not a locker room, just lockers for folks to be able to stash valuables or stash coats and boots, especially in the wintertime, and then another sitting area. Courts will be accessed along a center walkway. So walk down the walkway, you can access courts left and right, and then off in the back in that corner down there, that would be the northeast corner, will be the bathrooms, unisex bathrooms. So it'll be all gender, and then and that's it. I mean, it's beautiful in its simplicity, and it's going to accommodate a lot of great pickleball. A couple more renderings of the exterior and interior. As I explained earlier, the entrance will be like a repurposed overhead door, one being the entrance and the rest being glass. Again, instead of covering it up with brick, we're going to use it to just bring in more light into the space. Here's a 3D overhead view, and again, that kind of shows the layout of the courts, the fact that they will be clear of columns, which is just amazing. If you notice the accessible parking lot, the parking spaces, they're in the wrong spot. They're in the wrong place in this rendering. They'll be moved up closer to the door. And yeah, I mean, we're very excited. I think to the point where we brought in someone to give us to help us plan out the courts, and he was just giddy because, you know, he was really excited about the space and just how it's laid out and how it's built. And of course, you know, that the Piccadilly logo, that is not, this is just for the rendering. Of course, we have to go through we have to go through Appearance Commission and the Sign Commission before that would go up. But it'll be something similar. And then that's it. I'll hand it over to Lauren.
Good evening. I'd like to echo Nathan and Chris's thanks. We really appreciate you hearing us tonight. I wanted to take a few minutes just
Would
to
you
give a little background.
introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm sorry. My name is Lauren Busey.
Thank you.
I would just like to take a minute to introduce our team. And so we, as Nathan said, met on the pickleball court, which feels a little cliche, but it turns out that that actually happens. And we began to dream of indoor space to play as the seasons were changing, and we were worried that we wouldn't have any place to go. And so we began to dream. We realized that between our IT skills and our nonprofit background and our community building, that this could actually maybe be a fit. And so we're excited about where it could go. Just as a little bit of background about pickleball, I'll leave these up for a second. The sport of pickleball has been around for a long time, since the 60s, but in the last 4 years, since 2020, it has grown 223%. And since I'm really bad at remembering statistics, I'm going to cheat here, with a 13.6 million players in 2023. So it is an up and coming, it is a sport that we foresee is going to continue to grow. There is talk about it becoming an Olympic sport and also a collegiate sport. And so we think there's a lot of potential for our community to rally behind it and give indoor space for folks to practice and learn. One thing that we thought that was pretty incredible about pickleball is that it really is a sport for anyone. Beginners, advanced, you'll find them all. And there is an interesting community aspect to pickleball that I haven't found in my many years of playing tennis. People just show up at a court to play, and they'll play with whomever is there. They'll rotate, they'll meet new people, and that's part of the culture of the sport. And so we're excited to give folks a space to do that inside. Also, in the last year and a half that I've been playing, I've started to teach at the Park District, and I know firsthand how we are limited in how many leagues and classes and everything that we can offer, just due to space constraints. And so even in some very preliminary conversation with the head coach over there, there is some excitement about possibilities to partner with them going forward. Army and Nathan live in Lincolnwood. They live in Lincolnwood, and have grown in the area of Skokie for many, many years. Both attended Niles high schools. My kids will go to Niles North, so I don't really want to speak to that. But and I grew up in Wilmette and went to New Trier and quickly learned how much I love Skokie. And my wife and I have been living in the area since before our youngest son was born, and just have fallen in love with the community. So as we were looking for a space, it really meant a lot to find a place that was local, that we could build in our own community. And so we've really spent a lot of time looking. There are many limitations to finding pickleball space when you get to ceiling height and columns width and all sorts of things that I didn't know about before. That we are really grateful to have found this space, and we hope that we can use that for this use. The other thing that we have bonded over in the last few months as we've been planning is just our backgrounds. So we all have been deeply involved in our communities, AYSO, PTAs, PTOs, booster clubs, all of the above. And so we really do believe that that the community strength is really what is going to be our best benefit here. Personally, I am a minister at Trinity Lutheran Church in Evanston, and I've been there for a while. So my entire career has been based around social justice and community building, and so this feels like a really interesting offshoot to to that work, and we're really excited to see where it goes. And we're also lucky that half of our team has some very deep IT backgrounds, and so that really feels like an important need in this endeavor as well. As you consider, we're really grateful to you for your time and for hearing us out. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Armi Kachila. I just wanted to talk about some of the whys and how can we do this, right? So there's limited indoor spaces within the 5-mile radius around here. Personally, I've been playing for my winter leagues all the way out in Northbrook. And I travel, and I have friends that don't play in the winter because there's no space anywhere, and it does get a little bit more expensive. So there's the average of the Skokie of 80 plus degrees, rainy days and things like that. Actually, I personally don't like playing if it's above 75 degrees. It just gets really hot. The sun is blaring, my skin, and, I'm already a little dark, so it kind of gets a little more darker. So just unreliable weather, and just not, and also outside courts get really filled up. That you can wait about between 15 to 20 minutes to rotate with other players. The biggest concerns too is the noise. There's a particular outside park, pickleball park out in Niles, where it's literally it's a backyard of this community. And people have been complaining about the noise and how it just does not, they can't relax in their backyard because of the noise. So the indoor facility can actually solve some of these issues because we're inside. And it's year-round, and it's the surfaces, it's really going to be better for you. I myself have like 2 torn meniscus playing outside, just a lot of playing. So having like a nice cushioned court would really help my joints. Okay. So here are the couple of the points of how can we help the village, right? Where Sketchbook is such a community. I am there every Wednesday playing trivia. I get people from even outside of Skokie, out of the neighborhood, to try out and see what Sketchbook is all about. And it's just a nice marriage being in the same facility. Pickleball is a very social sport that you can go after playing, go grab a beer over there and just hang out. Also, So Good Coffee is there during the day, so that would help. Revitalizing downtown Skokie would be also, it's just 2 blocks away. And in my earlier years, I used to work for Searle at Searle Parkway, 4901 Searle Parkway. So I know this area where when Searle was there, the downtown was vibrant. There's restaurants and places to eat, and I think that will really bring people in. Village Crossing is not far behind either. I think a lot of those restaurants can be really giving that a lot of business. And of course, Old Orchard. Also, we met through the Park District, and we would love to partner with the Park District. I know the Park District is always putting people on wait lists because they just don't have enough leagues and things like that to accommodate the people that want to learn to play pickleball. So we want to partner with them to kind of, enhance that, the pickleball community and make it bigger. Also, as you might have read about my background, I did a lot of youth sports, heading that, AYSO, Now West Booster Club, Swift Aquatics. I ran all those things, so I would love to get the youth programs up and running and talk to the local business and local school districts to get some of the kids playing over there. And of course, the Main Street corridor, I think that would help too. So I want to talk about what does every day look like, right? We have every day, we have weekday mornings where we want to cater to our adult and seniors. We will have some open plays, court reservations, and adult and senior programming. and also some leagues. And again, we talked about yoga and stretch class, if that's permitting some time. If people want it. Afternoon is really geared towards, I see a 3 to 6 o'clock youth programming, having the 12 to 3, a lot of the lunchtime people playing. I did that today. I played from noon to 2, and so I see a lot of that going on. And evenings is really for people that work, right? You have your open play, court reservation, and then your league. That's how I play during the week is night, because I work during the day. And then weekends, we kind of just open it up. We have some open plays, court reservations, and special corporate events. We won't do any leagues there because a lot of people are kind of casual in the weekend and don't want to just seeing and being in this community. That's how we see it. Daily projected people. We see about 100 to 185 during the weekdays and about 150 to 200 people. Again, I don't want to repeat it, but here are some of our offerings that we'll be offering there. Private, semi-private, drilling, strategy classes. We have a reservation system that is going to be up and going. League play. I love league play. The more competitive it is, that you really have like the same level that you play and you do that right, people come. People do the league play and they love it. Corporate and social event. My 50th birthday party last year, we had to do it in a special place out in the city because nobody had pickleball facility that could accommodate 75 people. So I think this is something that people need and want. There's even like social events that are called Date and Dink and Drink and Dink. I think those are fun things, being with Sketchbook. I think those are the things that we're thinking of doing. And again, special programming targeting our seniors and our youth. Okay, Nathan, your turn.
So we're gonna close it out with parking. So, and I know parking's a concern because, everybody drives and I believe, I think the guideline is like five players per court, right? So I think the concern is that we're gonna have 11 and a half courts, and that's gonna be 55 people on 11 full courts. The assurances right now is that we have enough parking spaces for day-to-day operations of what we want to do during the day. Because I think in our current plan we have like 70. And so we're doing pretty well day-to-day operations, and we plan to manage that a little bit by staggering our programming. Like for open play, if we expect to fill 5 courts, which would be 50. That would be 5. So if we're saying, sorry. So if we're expecting 60 people, then of course we'll stagger it so the first group has an opportunity to leave the facility and get their cars out as folks are coming in for the next programming. So we don't see that. We don't see that as an issue. Of course, we're going to strongly encourage our community to explore public transportation options, and as Chris mentioned, the Skokie Valley Trail and the local bus lines. So that should alleviate some of the parking, some parking issues as well. And then there is the question about special events. We do plan to host special events. I don't think we're going to get to it in our first year unless we do something really small, like members only tournaments. But really, we're very committed to working with the village when it comes to special events, especially if they're large tournaments where we feel that we're not only going to get players but maybe some spectators. And of course, the special events would require a special event permit, and again, we'll work closely with the village to work out a good plan, to, you know, to accommodate, to accommodate our visitors. And again, we don't, even after we get going, we're not gonna have a tournament every week, we're not gonna have a tournament every month. Really, it's going to be, you know, a couple times a year at most. So, that's it, I hope that helped. And again, thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your attentiveness. A couple quick things to wrap up with. I'll start with the last one. We talked to staff about the idea if they were going to have a national tournament that would bring people in, we would go through the special event permit process so that the village would know any type of overflow parking, where that would go and how it would be handled. So we think that's the best way that it would be addressed, and that is in the staff report, and I believe Jose can speak to that as well. The reason I wanted the Piccadilly people to talk to you about the use is because what we're really talking about here is an adaptive reuse of a property that is basically commercial or industrial nature and now becoming recreational. And I think this is a building that is really a candidate for an adaptive reuse, to take it from something that is unoccupied and has not been occupied and has not really been used, and now make it a more vibrant part of downtown Skokie. And so I hope that, as you've heard from us, that you think this is the type of use that should be in this district, and that you will give a positive recommendation for the request for the text amendment. And then if the text amendment is allowed, that you would make a positive recommendation to the village board that the special use permit be granted, and that we would then move on to the village board. So thank you for your time, and we are available to answer any questions you have.
Well, thank you for the presentation, very good presentation. Any questions of the petitioner? Yes.
I'm trying to visualize where the building is in relationship to the sketchbook and care. Because I know that there's a lot of parking down that road, that way, and then there's Skokie parking across the street. Can you just tell
Commissioner,
me?
Yes.
maybe we can have the staff give you the location. of it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll save that question for the staff.
It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I might.
If you wanna answer it, that's fine.
I might actually be a good person to answer it. If you look in your packet and you see a site plan with handwriting on it, that's my handwriting. So what happened was, I received an email from Jose last Friday asking us to update the site plan with certain dimensions.
No, there's this one that's better.
That one gives context, that's,
Sorry.
Yeah, this is the one with the handwriting in it.
Sure. Well, I'll start with this to give you the context. And then I'll tell you about the adventures of doing the handwritten, because that was really fun, and the red-winged blackbirds were great. So, in terms of your context, Main Street is to your north, okay? So, that is where Sketchbook is, okay? You with me? 4901.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's Sketchbook.
All right, I know that.
All right. So Sketchbook parking is on the left side of that building, and there is an access road that runs the length of the property from Main to Cyril. Okay? Correct, on the east side, on the Skokie Swift side. The proposed Piccadilly location is the building in the middle. Okay? And so if you went out to the site. I'm sorry, here. If you went out to the site, this is the parking area where there were some big trucks you may have seen if you went out to the site. And then going down towards the floor is where Cyril Parkway would be. Okay, so that's the context for the location. The Skokie Valley Trail is on your left side. That's where the bike trail is. And then, the science and technology parking garage is down towards the floor, so across Cyril. You also know there's a public lot,
other side.
northwest of Sketchbook across the street. And then there's,
Is there, are you intending for the main parking to be below that TX
yes,
space? Okay,
So
so
when-
you're really not gonna interfere with the customers at Sketchbook?
no.
Okay,
And it would be our hope that customers at Sketchbook become players at Piccadilly and vice versa. But there is no parking variation being requested. The use, as calculated by staff, there will be sufficient parking. The parking will be located to the bottom, to the south of that box, and then along the east side of the building that runs further south. So there are parking spaces, and that's why you saw a number of the dimensions, because staff wanted to make sure that emergency vehicles could make it through on that access road on the east side. So what I was requested to do last Friday was get these dimensions. The architect was unavailable, so that's what I did and had to handwritten. We have agreed with staff, and we do have people who can do this for the village board meeting, but there will be a new site plan with those dimensions. But in working with Jose and Mike, I think we're all in agreement that the dimensions are accurate as far as we know, and that fire vehicles can make it on that access road.
thank you.
Commissioner Berman?
Couple of questions. First of all, I love the plan, so I'll start out by saying I'm fully in favor. First of all, and I own a building kitty corner
Yes.
to the site, so I'm well familiar with it. The Sketchbook parking on the west side of the Sketchbook building does stop. It terminates at some point, so that parking is not connected with this parking, and there's no intent to make that parking go through. Is that correct?
Correct. So the Sketchbook parking also goes to, I'm spacing on the name of the, Ecotech, sorry. So Sketchbook parking is on the west side, and one of the items that staff wanted to be very clear about is on the east side of the Sketchbook parking, so up against the building. That is marked no parking. So there are no parking signs on the pavement, there is no parking signs on an electrical unit that is there. It was at one time, there's old stripes, but there's no parking there. So we believe Sketchbook will be using their own parking, and times I've been to Sketchbook, I usually just park at public lot because I know where it is.
Okay. The question is, this is a leasehold, I imagine? You're leasing from an owner of the
Yes.
building. And you're leasing then the parking lot to the south as well as the building itself.
Correct,
And that is from the same lessor.
correct.
And then the parking that you describe on the east side of the southern building, that's the additional spaces on your hand sketch,
Yes.
which I like. Those additional spaces, that's leased from the same property owner or a different property owner?
Same property owner. So the same property owner owns the entire strip from Maine to Cyril.
And that anticipates, however, the relative inactivity of the former Walmart greeting card company that was in that spot.
Yes.
If that is are we, by doing this, and I guess this is a big question for staff and ourselves and you, what provision is there for your parking that you need in that southeast area when that space gets reactivated, which is probably the village's hope, and no longer is as inactive as it is now and becomes again a Walmart greeting card facility?
Sure. So we've discussed that with staff. Not to put the cart before the horse, because we don't have that issue, but the green space that is at Cyril could be turned into parking. It would require variations that Jose could go into. At this time, we did not believe it was proper to show that as parking, because it's not Piccadilly's intent to turn it into parking. If the landlord found a use that needed parking, that would be for that user to address, and if Piccadilly had to give up some of their parking, that would be a negotiation between Piccadilly and the landlord.
And the lease is 1 year at a time? Or is it
No, 10-year lease.
10-year lease, even the parking in both areas? It's a little bit of a concern. I don't, only because I would like to reactivate the former Walmart greeting card facility. All right, and then last, I would also like you to consider, and I think I'd like the village to consider, some step-down walkway off the bike path into your property. We were gonna do that at our property a long time ago, and the village instead planted it up. Not that anybody needed to get to our warehouse, but to yours, it would be wonderful if they could walk from the south and from the transit area up the path and then down a little stairway. But that's something, I think, that's public property, and that'll be something to discuss with the village.
I'm not exactly sure of the orientation, but I may have been in a conference room behind that wall with staff where we had that precise discussion. We are, and I believe the landlord is, in favor of that. And one item that we need to add to the site plan, because we have not made a final decision, I guess I'm a little leery about putting it on a site plan, but the concept of bike racks. Because we would think, to your point, a step down from the trail to a bike rack makes a lot of sense. And so we would think putting bike racks on the west side in proximity to the trail makes sense. So we are talked about that. Staff has raised it, we've raised it with staff. I think we're all on the same page, and it's just a question of who's gonna do what, and where does the public property end and where does the private property start, and how do we work through that?
Okay,
But there is certainly momentum in that direction.
thanks.
No.
You finished? Commissioner Berman?
Since we're on parking and on the west side of the property, at the end, the sketchbooks piece of it, there's a chain link fence with a property probably equivalently, maybe not quite, but almost as wide as the sketchbook parking swath. And then there's a chain link fence again at the end of your building. So what's gonna happen with that property? If nothing else, it probably needs to get cleaned up in there, but what use is gonna be made out of it?
And we're gonna clean that up, right? Yeah, the intent is to clean that up. I believe we are required, after that is done, to provide a tree survey of what is going to be remaining, getting rid of anything that is invasive species and then create parking there. So that's the long.
So that has the potential of maybe being a couple staff spaces or something like that if need be down the road?
I think the staff spaces are gonna be in the former loading dock.
Okay,
Because the former loading dock is on the east side of the building, and the entrance is going to be on the west side of the building. So again, to Commissioner Berman's point, one of the reasons you would put the bike racks over there is, again, the close proximity to the trail. And also, as Nathan had mentioned, we have to complete the site plan because we have to make sure the ADA accessible spaces are near that entrance on the west side.
okay. And how many staff will be there generally?
2 to 4.
Okay, thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
I assume the answer, but I'm hoping the answer is that it's a quiet exterior. It's a wonderful location because it doesn't have many neighbors, but we carefully planned and allowed the townhouse directly west to be built some years ago, thinking, oh, that's a nice quiet place for them to be because there won't be anything noisy around it. Is there any sound emission from the pickleball play inside of the building?
No. And as someone who has observed pickleball outdoor fights throughout the entire Chicagoland region, it seems, that is one of the things that really caught my attention. because these pickleball battles are being fought all over. There's an acoustic engineer who you may have seen testify, Dr. Tom Thunder. That is his real name. He has made a lot of money doing acoustic sounds, and I can just tell you in terms of sound, he was retained by the Wilmette Park District to put in pickle courts in proximity to the Edens Expressway. And just so you understand the sound, Edens Expressway ambient sound is 64 decibels. Just, it is. The pickleball noise was up at 79. Okay, so the idea when they approached me about doing indoor pickle was, oh my God, you've gotten over one of the largest hurdles to pickle. So to your point, no, there's no intent to emit sound outside of the four walls.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Canning, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll ask the staff to present its report to the board. Jose? Yeah.
How you doing?
Thank you. Why don't you put both cases together?
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
I'm just pulling up the site plan. Okay. Good evening, Commissioners and Chairman Luke. My name is Jose Acosta, Planning Coordinator with the Community Development Department, and I'd like to ask that the staff report be accepted into the record as written.
Request is granted.
This is regarding case 2024-18P for a zoning chapter amendment and case 2024-19P for a special use permit of a recreation facility at 4919 Main Street in the M2 Light Industry and TX Transit Mixed Use District. Case 2024-18P for a zoning chapter amendment is regarding Piccadilly's request to amend Appendix A and any other related sections of the Skokie Village Code to establish recreation facilities, dance halls, racquetball, handball, and tennis courts as a special use in the Transit Mixed Use Zoning District. Staff recommends this change as recreation facility is currently a special use in the B2 and B3 districts and permitted use in the B4 and not a permissible use in the TX Transit Mixed Use District. Many of the businesses falling under this use tend to be geared towards promoting physical activities, encouraging healthy lifestyles, and providing opportunities for leisure and enjoyment. The petitioner has found a great location to establish an indoor pickleball facility along Main Street in the Transit Mixed Use District that is heavily served by public transit, including the CTA Yellow Line Oakton Skokie Station located about half a mile away, and the Skokie Valley Trail directly adjacent to the site on the west side. Experience-based businesses are a key segment of growth in business districts and show promise to do the same for mixed-use districts. Staff recommends Piccadilly's request for a special use permit for a recreation facility at 4919 Main in case 2024-19P be approved. The petitioner is proposing a membership-based indoor pickleball facility with 11 full-size courts, a half court for training, and on-site parking. Due to the location of the proposed pickleball facility, staff look at the overall site that includes sketchbook and Ecotech installation in order to review site circulation. The required parking for this use is outlined in the village zoning code as 5 parking spaces for each court provided, which would amount to 58 required parking spaces for Piccadilly. 70 parking spaces are being provided on site specifically for Piccadilly, located in the center of the site and along the southeast driveway adjacent to the vacant building off of Sierra Parkway. Staff has requested a revised site plan prior to the hearing before the Board of Trustees to address some of the staff comments regarding the labeling of parking dimensions, location of overhead utilities, and the addition of an ADA parking space required by Illinois Accessibility Code. And additionally, the petitioners are requesting relief from Code Section 118-233E to provide no parking lot trees rather than the required 1 tree for every 15 parking spaces within the interior of the parking area. And as stated, staff recommends that the petitioner's request for a special use permit be approved based on the proposed finding of fact. and subject to the following recommended special use permit conditions. The first one, prior to the hearing of the subject case before the Board of Trustees, the petitioner must revise the overall site plan to include all of the noted revisions outlined in the staff report. Number two, in the event of pickleball tournaments or other special events being hosted at the subject site, the petitioner must apply for a special event permit and submit a parking agreement or plans for additional temporary parking at a location separate from 4919 Main Street. And three, all parking lot improvements, including paving, striping, lighting, and signage, must be completed by no later than October 31st, 2025.
Okay. Just a little clarification, since we're changing the use, the zoning amendment for usage for all these. Now, the special use that we're applying tonight, it doesn't encompass all of the uses, correct? It's specific as a pickleball court.
Correct, yes.
In other words, they couldn't turn it into a dance hall overnight or
Correct.
anything else
This would be
overnight.
specific for Piccadilly's
So, okay,
pickleball courts, yes.
yes,
Clarify for myself, so we are though, by changing this, allowing in the TX Transit District,
Correct.
any of these uses in the future, each has a special use, who then could come back to this space and say, you allowed a special use for recreational purposes here, and now will you please allow our next special use?
Correct.
Which is allowable. We
Yes,
are
yeah.
permitting that. We are saying that is something we want in our transit district.
Exactly, yeah.
Good,
okay,
whether it's a ballroom or handball.
Right.
okay. Commissioner Berman,
I'm just curious about why the relief from the tree requirement for 15 spaces. Is that a cost issue? Is that because they're going to lose too many spaces?
They meet the parking requirement, but in order to accommodate any additional parking for any of the future tenants of the vacant spaces, we want to maximize the space that they have for parking. So relief from that parking lot tree would help out in future parking layouts.
Okay, thank you.
there will be some landscaping there, though, correct?
Sorry, excuse me?
There will be some landscaping there?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay,
It's a very linear
yeah.
lot
Right.
of parking and narrow right-of-way for two cars to pass
Correct. yeah.
adjacent to the parking.
Yeah, I've gone by there, I just noticed there's like weeds and, invasive species there that can be taken out as the
Yeah, I mean, I
petitioner
think
stated.
there's always room for cleaning up.
Oh, sure.
Both east and west,
Yeah.
on the lot. And it is a weird little lot, but it would be nice if we had some compromise on some trees that went
Yeah.
in there.
Okay. Any other questions of staff?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm still hung up on this one thing, as much as I want this, but the parking doesn't work if that building becomes reactivated. What is this village's plan, what is our plan and the village's plan to handle that in the future? What's the landlord's plan? And how does the 10-year lease for the building and all the parking affect the activity or the inactivity of that building to the south?
Well, maybe Joanna can answer this, but staff discussed potential parking lot modifications to be made if any future tenants were to go in, and which may also result in Piccadilly having to remove or modify some spaces, and this can be done at the Zoning Board of Appeals at a future date.
But how could that be done if they have a 10-year lease? So that's all wrapped around in the same question.
Sure. So some of these are items that are a tenant and landlord issue. So the landlord has made a decision to lease to somebody and given them promise that there will be parking for the use that they're going to put that agreement. So some of this is a tenant landlord issue, and certainly as the village, we want to see a building get reactivated and utilized. From what I've seen, these are very difficult buildings to lease, and the uses that are there are super unique to Skokie, to people deeply committed to coming to these unique spaces. They see the vision. In my relatively short tenure here, the uses that we've seen for this space are often warehouse spaces. They don't have a lot of staff. They don't have a lot of parking need. That is not the highest and best use for a space so unique and close to downtown and near the Science and Technology Park. So all that being said, it's hard to have a crystal ball of what will be in the future. But we look forward to that challenge, but we also don't want to tie the middle part of the property's hands with this great user for the hope that something in the future will come. But if as the building is now, I don't think that use will have a super high intensity of parking because of the kind of things that we have been seeing show interest in that space.
So then, just to follow up and to wrap this up, if they have a 10-year lease on all of that parking that we are now determining, are we not as a village then precluding anything else from going into that large inactive space?
I think the landlord has made this decision, but we also don't know,
But we though, as the village, if the landlord makes it based on.
we're
our
enabling the
condition, right,
landlord to do that.
and therefore we are enabling this building to be inactive for 10 years at least, or to have.
I don't know that I
have-
wanna say
have-
that,
to have
because
no
I don't
great
know what-
parking need.
Yeah, and I also don't know that somebody won't come and want to redevelop that building and put another TX use, go vertical more on that. I mean, there are things that we know might be interesting to that site and that location. The town, I was just there this afternoon, the uses, these are uses we never dreamed up could be in these spaces.
Like the townhouses across.
Like the townhouses, the sketchbook. I was at Trivia last night. That place could not have been more packed with people coming to Sketchbook, and the parking lot was very well lit. That was partially why I went to Sketchbook for trivia, but the parking lot's well lit. There's a lot of activity and excitement, and these are uses that we never could have dreamed of. So that my little planner heart is hoping that there's a use that comes into that space that is a use that we never even dreamed up, that is a higher and greater use. Increasingly, people don't want to have, the parking that we'll learn and how, the use of this parking. Our code says 5 spots per court. I think that is a much older standard for parking 5 vehicles arriving to play on one pickleball court. You have two families here. I'm sure they don't each drive a separate car and find somebody to drive a 5th car. So, that alone, and even in a 4-person team playing, you still are only going to get 4 cars generated for the use. So I think our code overcounts this parking a little bit.
Okay,
Commissioner Sayre.
Sorry, I'm new, so my question
Oh,
might
go
not
ahead.
make sense. But if we amend Appendix A, we're doing it for the whole area, right? Like the whole TX area?
Yes.
So the space that prior to this meeting would have only been allowed as transit mixed use will now be allowing the space that he's talking about to be used for many more
Yeah, we're adding more
things.
uses to it.
many more uses. So I'm just following up on that, what was previously a non-issue becomes a bigger issue, where the space previously couldn't have.
Well, that's why the space has been empty, because there was limited use there. And it was just,
Right, so I'm just sort of following up on what he was
Sure.
saying. We're now opening up the space to many more things, so could the parking be a bigger issue? I don't know the space very well, but.
it would depend on the tenant's intended
Okay.
use of the property. of
Do we
course.
have the ability to request or require that, should that space be used, that Piccadilly help us figure out parking for that space, given that they're the tenants there for 10 years? How does that work?
So the special use is only for the land use at this existing site. So, if there's concerns about the intensity of the use, they've given a really good explanation of how they're gonna use it, how their volume of time and everything.
Sounds great.
If there's particular things in regard to that use, but there's nothing that we can condition in adjacent properties or require them for a future land use adjacent. But we don't want to build a parking problem, but we also don't want to, and I think the landlord is certainly very sensitive. I'm sorry I couldn't be here tonight, but I think the landlord is very sensitive to all the property and has wanted to be thoughtful about it.
Could I just comment?
Yes.
I don't think we want to say no to one project because we're worried that somewhere down the road it might create a problem for another project. So we create 2 empty spaces that are hard to lease out and have been sitting idle for 10 years or more. just simply because we're getting picky on the parking now. It's the landlord's property. He's making a decision. It's not harming any surrounding area in any way, and it's putting that piece of property to good use now. And it's not sitting idle anymore. And oh, by the way, it's generating tax revenue for the village as opposed to sitting empty.
Yeah.
So I think we're going around and around. In fact, I want to see trees there, but if it's going to harm the parking issue and get it in there, I'm willing to give up or at least compromise on the number of trees. But I think we could go all night about whether or not they may need 2 more parking places 12 years from now and kill a project that's here today.
Okay. Commissioner Mancello, you had a question?
A question for the petitioner. Is there anything in the lease, as you've seen it, I doubt that you've signed it yet, but is there anything in the lease that allows for any flexibility with parking down the road?
There is not an existing lease, it's being negotiated.
Okay.
Thank you all for your comments tonight, because it is something that we will raise. Just one real quick thing, Chair, if you don't mind.
Yes,
Could I
please.
just show something on the site
Go
plan?
ahead.
If, Jose, if you could call it up. And Commissioner Berman, I just want to point this out for you. So to go around the horn, this is Sketchbook. This is where their fire hydrant is, so that's where their front door is. So this is Main Street. When we are talking about the green space, this is Cyril. So this, Cyril's right here. So in your discussion about parking for a different use in the south building, we have talked to staff, the landlord has talked to staff about the possibility of converting that to parking. But as we talked about, that would require a variation, which would come before the public body. So again, you or zoning would be involved. So understand that that is just the orientation. A lot of the other stuff is just dimensions. But the question that you had asked, I think that allowing a special use to make more uses in a zoning district is great. The important thing about a special use as opposed to a permitted use is it allows a public body like you to weigh in like you have tonight about this and learn more about the use and what the impact is. So I think it's a really good process to do a text amendment, to create a special use and to have that ability to say, hey, does this make sense here? So maybe in 10 years when the dance hall comes in to replace, because ballroom dancing will be back in an Olympic sport like it was, then, you know, we will already have taken care of that.
And I just want to say that I continue to be enthusiastically supportive. I want to remind us as a public note that we also approved in this transit district a special use on Skokie Boulevard, which blossomed wonderfully, somewhat surprisingly to some of us, in terms of the internet cafe, which then did require as much parking as they thought they did, which was that entire parking to the north, which was going to be at that time a building. Sort of luckily for the insight and for the parking, that building was not built. So I'm not sure I'm happy or not happy.
Yet.
Okay, but if that building is built, then we're gonna go back to having a problem that we created by having insight there. We wanted it, we got it, we have them parking on the vacant lot where the building might get built. So just a weighing of the economic equities, it seems, in our downtown. But I agree with Jeff where he says, better to put something to use now than to wait for something later. So I agree.
And their business model back then was based on a commuter orientation and an Uber orientation. Well, we probably did, but here, that was a viable business going in, and there was a question whether or not they had adequate parking. Here, we're saying we're gonna kill a viable business because there may not be adequate parking for a business sometime down the road that may never come.
Got it.
It's a very different business situation.
I would also offer, think about all the great places people like to go to in Chicagoland. They all have a challenge to find parking, every single one of them. And so we have a little internal joke, we would only desire to have a parking problem. And, you know, similar to what did Yogi Berra's quote go, nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. You know, these are the kind of problems we would strive to have in Skokie. So it's manageable crowd, but we want to have some of these problems, so.
Okay. Any other questions of the staff? Okay. Jose, any closing remarks?
No, that'd be all.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who has a question or a comment on this case, other than the petitioners? No, there's no one else, okay. Mr. Canning, would you, any closing remarks?
The only closing remarks, Mr. Chairman, are simply, you've heard the evidence, you've seen our documents, you've seen there's community support for this. You see people from the community of Skokie who want to bring this to Skokie. We think this is a wonderful adaptive reuse. We think this is a wonderful opportunity. The fast-growing sport of pickle to be played inside takes away many of the other challenges from outdoor pickle. We think the location will add vibrancy to the area. We believe that is the right use in the right place at the right time. And we would ask that you return a positive recommendation to the village board on the special use application. Thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you for your attention to everything. And as I said in the beginning of my remarks, we would not be here without staff having been very useful to get us through the process and get before you tonight. So our thanks to staff in getting us here tonight.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, commissioners, we need to vote on each case separately. The zoning chapter amendment is case 2024-18P. Do you motion to,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the report, the staff report from 2024-18P as presented.
okay, do we have a second? Second, Commissioner Franklin, thank you. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. Commissioner Spayer? Commissioner Manchella?
A strong aye.
Okay, Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeevan Yahoo?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Gupta is absent. Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei? Now vote aye. Thank you. On case 2024-19P, is there any
Aye.
relief that we need to vote on separately in this, Counselor?
Yes, for the trees.
The trees, okay. No relief, tree relief. Okay, yeah, okay. So there'll be two separate votes for this, one for the passage, one for the special use and one for the relief, okay? So,
I move that we approve case number 2024-19P as presented, waiting for the second vote on trees.
okay, and I have a second.
And I enthusiastically move
Okay,
it, by the way.
do I have a second? A second. Thank you. Okay, call for the vote. No further discussion. Commissioner Spayer? Commissioner Manchella?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeevan Yahoo?
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta is still absent. My goodness. Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei?
Aye.
Now vote aye. On relief, trees, since it's very tight, do I have a motion for?
I will follow up on my
grant
last
relief on
motion
the
and
trees? Okay.
vote and move that we accept the proposal of the staff for relief of trees in
Okay,
the
do I
parking
have a
area.
second? Second, Commissioner Franklin. Okay, call for the vote. Commissioner Bayer?
Aye.
Commissioner Manchella?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner I'm lost it again. Jeevan Yahoo?
Aye.
And Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei? And I'll vote aye. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for finding the spot in Skokie. Actually, I played pickleball. I think it's a great sport. Maybe I'll get a group together. We'll play there when you get the facility up. But thank you very much. Good luck with your project, and wish you all the best. Thank you all. Okay. Anything else before the commission?
Yes, can I
Yes.
just by a show of hands confirm who will be here on August 15th? We have a very large case.
I will be here 15th.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is there any no's? No, no, there's no no's.
Just, we have to get a hold of Commissioner Gupta.
Okay.
Okay, good, we're good.
So, notice has been issued, the URW is coming forward with their amendment to the site plan for public, plan development for their residential redevelopment of the northern part of the center. So
Okay,
it will be the biggest one of the biggest cases in our
for this year,
existence.
yeah,
So,
So the residential on the Old Orchard.
correct.
Mhm.
I assume we anticipate a crowd of.
so I anticipate, good volley to me for that. I anticipate a crowd, so we're gonna do our best to get the materials to all of you in advance of the, in advance of the meeting, instead of the typical weekend before, try to get you it earlier in the week, so you could have plenty of time to review the materials, because they're quite extensive and voluminous, so.
For the benefit of our new commissioner, could you just give us a brief overview of the request that's coming in?
So how about I send everybody the public notice, because I don't have it in front of us, and I want to just make sure I say it right.
Okay.
So I'll send, Marlene, why don't you just make sure everybody gets, unless, is it in our folders today?
That's not, I didn't see it.
Okay. So we'll make sure everybody gets that. We'll email it to you in the morning, so you can just see, and then the materials will come.
Will that be the only case that night?
Yes, yeah.
materials you'll print this time, or?
So, I think that's another question. I don't know what everybody's preference, I mean, people are welcome to bring computers in if they want to view them on the computers. There's outlets, so if you want to review them, I don't know if you've been told in the past you can't, I noticed nobody does, but you all are welcome to bring them. It's a lot of material, so I don't think we can print all of them.
It's just that, in the past on large projects, we have had foldouts that we have caused the developer to produce for us.
Yeah.
And those foldouts don't work well on computers at
Sure.
best.
I'm anticipating that the
And
petitioner will probably,
I would come and pick it up. I mean,
I'm anticipating the petitioner will probably come in with a booklet
So that booklet,
for each of us.
So that we
Yeah.
don't get booklets anymore, because we'd moved to digital.
I see.
So let's look at what the materials that were put, and then we can prepare and print as needed. But if everybody has different levels of comfort with materials. If people are fine with a printed material, or if people are fine with tablets or laptops, whatever, but we'll sort through that. But I just first to ask was to make sure that everybody will be here. So
This will be multiple cases as well, correct?
it's 2 cases.
Yeah.
It's a subdivision and then an amendment. Well, it's just subdivision. Their use is allowed by zoning, so there's no zoning change, so it's just site plan approval and then modification to the plan development.
So are you encourage questions up front so that community comments are minimized maybe, or we can address them as we go?
I think we're gonna have to address it as we go, because we have to go through our process, and, my hope is that we are putting the notice, there's a sign on the build, but, I think the best thing that everybody can do is make sure that they take a look at all the materials, and that if there are, material or questions about orientation or background history things that help facilitate getting everybody's thing, staff will be available if people have specific questions that they want to review with staff, because it's taken us a lot of time to get acquainted with the site, and even if we've all been hopeful users of the site for many, many years, there's a lot of nuances to the plan development.
So now that the new chapter of the comprehensive plan for housing has been adopted, you guys, I'm sure, have reviewed.
First reading.
Huh?
We've only done first reading
Okay.
in the middle of a tornado.
Sure, okay.
It's not been
Yeah.
Kind of bailed out.
Yeah,
Sorry. It was a dramatic evening.
Watching.
okay,
So, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I need one moment.
sure.
We did,
Has to be on
We're
record.
still public.
we at one time, I don't remember when, talked about Old Orchard, and we did some sort of voting about this Old Orchard grand plan.
That,
What,
that was Steve Marciani's, I think what he did was that the village or the staff wouldn't involve themselves in anything internal within the shopping center, but if it was external, that was visible from the street, then the village would get involved.
I thought we talked about housing on that site,
Not,
but
not,
perhaps
not at
I'm.
that, not at that, we haven't talked about
So-
housing at that site for a long, no.
So since it's not on the agenda, I don't want to get too far into it, but Cindy, if you want to call me tomorrow, I can have you chat with you.
And I'm remembering that when we changed the footprint, that is what we said
Right.
would have to come back. So it wasn't just internal, external, Cindy, you're not wrong, but it had to do with changing the footprint of the overall planned unit development. That is Old Orchard going back to the 50s. So that included the parking structure that we allowed to be built on Skokie Boulevard some years ago. That was a change, but the placement of Bar Sienna as a piece of the overall footprint, we did not have to approve.
So I'm gonna encourage you all to not talk about Old Orchard since it's on the agenda.
Okay.
And then I'm just confirmed that everybody's gonna be here for.
Could I have one more question, and that is this to be both the housing that we all know is coming on the north end of the site and the commercial that surrounds the housing, or is it
Well,
just
wait,
housing?
we can't
Well,
discuss that now
well, that's
because.
the
You're gonna get the notice
We're on
tomorrow.
record.
All right, all
We're on
right.
record,
Yeah,
okay? We can't discuss it.
All right, I
We're
won't.
not the petitioner here.
All right, I'll look for the notice,
Okay.
and then we'll call you.
So I have to put a stop right there, okay? So. Yes, okay, meeting adjourned, thank you.